Today I want to talk about smart, I wouldn't even want to call it smart, conscious buying, right? When we go to the grocery store, how do we buy um, ethically, right? How do we buy that aligns with our value? How do we buy things that align with our value, right? And some of the biggest ones, um, we want to be healthy, right? We want to be healthy. We want to be sustainable, right? Sustainable environmentally, but also to go even beyond that, regenerative, right? We want to be regenerative. Well, we want to be good to the animals, right? So it's animal welfare. And we want to be uh, good for the workers, right? So like fair trade, or um, I would say worker equity, right? Worker equity, right? So we want it to be healthy, right? For ourselves, for the environment, for animals, and for the workers, right? And there's so many labels, right? So many labels. So I kind of wanted to go through like a quick 101, right? Just a basic how to be a conscious consumer 101, right? So you don't get tricked by marketing, right? Because um, there's a lot of shady marketing out there, right? Greenwashing, right? Greenwashing, shady marketing. There's a lot of people trying to trick you. And now, I'm not perfect either, right? I'm just some guy on the internet, right? Please do your own due diligence, right? But I wanna help people out because I know I've struggled with this too. Um, right? There's so many labels. It's so confusing, right? So many ingredients. So right, it's just so confusing. So I want to help you out. Um, so first, when it comes to health, right? Your health. Basically, you just want to buy produce, right? Produce. Um, so vegetables, fruits, your fish, seafood, meat, your eggs, anything that's as unprocessed as possible, right? A simple question, right? Is this natural, right? Did it come from nature, right? Like eggs came from nature, right? Kale came from nature. Apples came from nature, right? Did Doritos come from nature? No, right? So just a simple question, right? Would your grandma recognize it? Would your grandma recognize it? Right? Would your grandma or grandpa recognize it? Um, what the best food is the least processed, right? At most 1 to 2 steps, right? So fermentation, right? Like pickles, sourdough, ferments, anything that's cooked, right? Steamed, so preferably steamed, right? Steamed or boiled, or vinegar. That's a ferment. Anything that's fermented and cooked, that's absolutely right. That's totally great, right? Anything that's raw, that's great too, right? But if it's something that's processed beyond recognition, that you probably want to avoid that, right? So this is like the basics, right? Your vegetables, fruits, fish, mushrooms, nuts, eggs, anything that you recognize in nature, right? We can get more into health later, but for now, I'm just going to leave it at this, right? This is the basics, right? Mostly plant-based, right? Mostly, unless there are specific conditions, right? Like autoimmune conditions, you might benefit from going carnivore. There's a couple exceptions right here and there, but for most people, it's mostly plant-based. and mostly, just unprocessed, right, natural foods, right, just foods you would find in nature. Now the second part, right, sustainability. So there's labels like usually the ones that are sustainable, the best labels I would say probably are MSC or FSC. So these are this is for seafood, right? Marine Stewardship Council, third party verified. So the fish are sustainably caught, right? Wild fish. FSC is for like trees, right? Products made from trees, right? So like wood, for example. So wood. They're sustainably harvested wood. You do have other things. Let's see. In general, you want labels to be third party verified at least, right? At least, right? So there's no bias, right? At the very least, you want labels that are third party verified. And it'll say on the label, there's so many labels, I can't name all of them. But I'll list a couple examples. So like MSC, FSC, I'll list a couple examples, right? If you have a question about a specific label, please do your own due diligence and let us know too. There's a new organic. It can be more sustainable, but it might not be more sustainable. It really depends. But there's actually a new label that's called ROC, Regenerative Organic certification. And it's not just being sustainable, right, which is just sustaining what we have right now, but regenerating the soil, right? The soil and animal welfare and worker equity. It improves all three, right? All three of these components, but I just wanted to put it into regenerative specifically because that's like its main message, right? ROC is very, very, very high quality, right? If you find anything with ROC, that means it's been, it's really, really, it's good for everything. Basically, it's good for all of these. I just wanted to mention a couple extra labels like B Corp, right? B Corp is really about the business structure, right? So it's a more equitable this business, right? So it's a business structure, B Corp. More ethical, I suppose you could say, business. There's things like 1% for the planet, Rainforest Alliance certified, but those are a little bit more like specific use cases. When it comes to animal welfare, you want to go with things that are at least certified humane or certified animal welfare. There's another one. It's by AGW, A Greener World, AGW certified, which is this is even more high quality, right? It's similar to ROC. This is very high quality, right? ROC, regenerative organic is a step above regular USDA organic, right? It's a step above regular USDA organic. AGW certified humane is a step above certified animal welfare. So this means that it's really, really, that animals are taken care of. You want to look for something, and AGW grass fed as well. AGW grass fed. for specifically for ruminants, right? Like cows, bison, grass fed. These are very, very high standards for animal welfare. For worker equity, you have things like fair trade, which has to do, I believe, has to do with the prices of the products or the negotiation between the supplier and the distributor. And for each of these, there's lots of other labels that fall. Right, this isn't completely exclusive. There's lots of other labels that fall in here, right? And these are mostly U.S. based. Well, some of these, like USDA organic, some of these are international. So it might differ in your country, but these are generally what I kind of look for. MSC, FSC, ROC, organic, AGW, certified, fair trade. Now that's a lot of labels, right? That's a lot of labels. There's no way to keep track of all of them. So the best sites that really aggregate all this information together. So first up, right, I recommend you check out EWG, Environmental Working Group. This is really good for showing you. So they have a clean 15 and a dirty dozen list, right? So it's pesticide residue on produce, right? So anything to do with like organic or non-organic produce. They have a huge, or they have a really nifty list for which ones are the best, the cleanest, right? And which ones have the most residue. They also have a thing for like cosmetics, right? So ingredients, right? What the heck are all these ingredients in my anything anything you use daily, right? So toothpaste, soaps, perfumes, makeup, sunscreen, deodorant, anything, right? Anything that's daily use. They have a huge catalog of all the ingredients and which ones are the best, right? Which ones are the safest. Looking at kind of like meta-analysis of all the research done, right? From the FDA plus independent research as well. So FDA and independent research. So you can really, so EWG is really good for your health, right? Yeah, specifically like toxicity, right? Anything to do with like chemicals, heavy metals, heavy metals. When I say chemical, obviously, man-made chemicals and toxicity. They also have a tap water database too. So you can see what's in your tap water or what's. I think it's only the U.S. if I remember correctly. EWG's only operates in the U.S. So sorry if you live internationally, but you can still check out the ingredients to see if the ingredients in your country's products are safe or not, right? So I still recommend you check out the ingredients for EWG. So that's a really good one for your health, right? EWG is a good one for your health. I also recommend checking out. So if you want, if you're into seafood like I am, you can check out the EWG. I believe has a seafood sustainability list, but there's also the Monterey Bay for sustainability. So you can sort by, if you just go to the website, you can sort by fish and how it's caught, right? Like trawl, single line, basically how sustainably it's caught. And you can see like which fish are the most and least sustainably caught. And I also recommend for any seafood, you check out the mercury content as well. Mercury content. of seafood. I believe EWG has that, if I remember, the mercury content. Usually it's just like smaller. The smaller, the better, right? Small, like sardines, mackerel, salmon. The smaller, the better. The wilder, the better. The more sustainable, the better. When it comes to animal welfare, right? When it comes to animal welfare, you can check out websites like Cornucopia, or ASPCA. Cornucopia, ASPCA. They have huge lists. You can filter it out and check for animal, like how their animals are treated, right? They have a whole scorecard for for dairy products, for meat, for steak, for eggs, for poultry, and a scorecard for animal welfare, right? How they treat their animals. Plus, they also have scorecards for workers too, like how they treat their worker equity as well. Or Cornucopia does. ASPCA also has a really good explanation for, just a simplified explanation for what all these labels for animal welfare mean. So those two are another website I recommend you check out: Cornucopia, ASPCA. And then so this is kind of like the general overview of how can I eat in a way that's healthy for me, in a way that's healthy for the environment, in a way that's healthy for the animal, and in a way that's healthy for the workers, right? How can I buy things that are all of these, right? And so we have all these labels. ROC is probably the most comprehensive one to date, right? It includes all of these. But I do want to say though, label isn't everything, right? It's not everything. It's a good indicator, right? It's a good indicator, but labels aren't everything, right? Labels. The best way, right? The best way to get all of these is to see directly, right? To see directly. Visit the farm, right? If you have the opportunity, if you have the chance, right, go visit the farm. Look at their videos, right? The best farms, right? The farms that are healthy, the farms that are worker equitable, right? The farms that treat their animal well, they'll have videos, right? They'll have videos. They'll let you see the farm, right? Because they want you to see how well they treat their animals and how well they treat their soil and how well they treat their workers, right? So the best way is to see directly. But if you can't, right, which I totally understand, then these labels, I'd recommend looking at MSC, FSC, ROC, AGW certified, fair trade, right? All these labels are very... the more, usually the better. Usually. Oh, if you're looking at supplements though, just one quick thing with supplements. This is also another contentious, but you want to look for NSF, good manufacturing practice, GMP, at the least, right? GMP. You want to look at the ingredients, right? You want to look at the ingredients. Make sure there's nothing weird, right? And for that would cover your bases, right? You can get more in depth, I don't know, if it's possible, to get it lab verified, right? To get a lab to verify it, but of course that's very expensive, right? Getting lab tests is very expensive. I would say the best one though, for example, would be right? Grow your own food. Grow your own food in whatever way you can. If you only have, if you live in an apartment and only have a small space, right? Grow it in a right? Grow some plants in a pot, right? Grow some plants in a pot. If you have a small lawn, right, convert that lawn into something edible, right? Any space that you have is an opportunity to grow your own food, to connect with your own food. And so I would say this is the best way by far, right? And the next best way is buying. There's things like CSA, community supported agriculture, co-ops, right? Co-ops, farmers markets, right? Farmers markets, direct, buying directly from the farmer. So you know where you're buying from, right? So you know that it's healthy and sustainable and it's good for the animals and they're treating their workers well. There's CSAs, co-ops, farmers markets, buying directly. Those I would also recommend. Buying locally and seasonally, right? So this is what I call the space-time continuum of food, right? Local is space and seasonal is time, right? Space-time. You want to buy as local and as seasonal as possible, right? As possible. You might not be able to get everything locally and everything seasonally, but as much as possible. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, right? This looks a little complicated, and the labels and markets, right, and grocery stores, they can be confusing. There's a lot of marketing, advertising jargon. But if you do have the time, I do want you to visit these websites. And even more importantly, to connect with your own food, right? To connect with food. To connect with your farmers. The food. Connect with the farmers. Connect with your friends, right? Share your cooking with your friends, right? Share this message with your friends, right? Connecting with your food, your farmers, your friends. The longest lived and healthiest people in the world, the people who live in the blue zones, a lot of them garden, so they grow their food locally, seasonally, right? So it's fresh, right? Fresh and tasty. And if not, they know their farmers. Right? Their farmers are their friends, and they eat together. They eat together. So this really is the message that I wanted to leave you with, to connect with your food, your farmers, your friend, and to not be so overwhelmed with, right, all these labels and options. To enjoy eating, right? To feel truly wonderful and enriched and nourished by the gifts given to us, right? The blessings of nature, because it truly is a blessing. Whenever I grow food, I realized I don't grow food at all. I don't do one bit. It's not me that's growing the food, right? All I'm doing is supporting my tomatoes, my mint, my squash. All I'm doing is just giving space, right? Providing an environment, a supportive environment, and then the tomatoes, they just grow, right? I don't have to do anything, right? Sure, I water them, sure, I mulch, but I'm not the one growing, right? The tomatoes are the one growing. So it's a very meditative, calming, really humbling experience. Very, very humbling. seeing kind of like the preciousness of life, receiving the energy of the plants that I grow, right, and it becoming a part of me. That's a very sacred, very. It changed my perspective on food, truly. So I hope that you can connect with your food and your farmers and your friends